John and Sally through this weekend. It won't be particularly chilly. Anybody camping out, the nights should be reasonably mild, and by day when the sunshine comes out, temperatures will be in the mid to high teens. Back to you, Bo.
Matt, I like how you're trying to kind of make us all feel a little bit better about it. But at this point, where are we now? It's Wednesday. Is there any chance this could change and get better?
There's a small chance. Unfortunately, Saturday, it's all showing a little bit of consistency about it. But we'll keep our fingers crossed. All it needs to do is slow that weather system down a little bit, and we should be all right.
That's all we need to do.
I'll keep an eye, though.
Yeah, we'll try our best. Matt, thank you very much.
Wouldn't it be great if we could do that?
Yeah.
It's coming up to 10 to 7, and we've been exploring the impact of dementia on those diagnosed with the condition and on their loved ones. Nina did a piece, didn't she, about her own family a few weeks ago. And since then, loads of you have been getting in touch with your own personal stories and experiences.
Now, one of the real struggles that families face is receiving a lasting power of attorney that gives relatives the right to manage the legal affairs of someone with dementia and make decisions on their behalf. But obtaining that document can be really difficult, as Nina has been finding out.
Talking about dementia matters, and it's brought my family a lot of comfort reading your stories. I've come to Morecambe, where Julie is Reggie's full-time carer.
It's like that, isn't it?
Let's see.
I can't. I don't think so.
We're very lucky. We've got the Great Wood behind us, so we've got lots of birds and we see lots of wildlife.
She's also his power of attorney, but getting there wasn't easy.
It was quite a complex process, just getting the paperwork together, and then we sent it off, and there's a 20-week wait for the whole process to go through the system, and they do inform the power of attorneys that they've been asked to become a power of attorney, and they could object. They have 4 weeks to object. So that's one of the reasons it's long, but also it's just because there's a huge amount of people applying at the moment.
It's such a long time, isn't it? And over that time, Reggie might have been deteriorating and you're having to make more decisions.
And then you rely on the goodwill of doctors, dentists, hospital consultants, whether they will speak to you on behalf of that person. Definitely banks, the Department of Works and Pensions won't speak to you. They are very, very strong about if you haven't got a power of attorney, you cannot act in that person's behalf. So
you had this gap of time
Yes.
waiting for the document where Reggie wasn't in a position to speak for himself. So you were battling to speak on his behalf when he needed help.
Sometimes the doctor would call and he would say, what's your name? And make sure it's speaking to the right person. And he might have a bad day, wouldn't know his name, or maybe not his date of birth. So I would have to literally beg the doctor, please can I speak on my husband's behalf?
And does Julie look after you?
Yes, Julie look after me.
I bet she can be quite bossy sometimes, can she, Julie?
Yeah. Yeah, can be.
It's okay.
I don't think to maybe go back to Sri Lanka.
That's how bad it is.
It's all tomorrow.
And actually, loads of you have had a similar experience. Lots of your emails have been around how difficult it is, how frustrating it is taking over the admin of someone else's life and how much that makes a bad situation even worse. I really want to speak to Charlotte because she emailed in saying, my mum was diagnosed when I was 6 months pregnant. I'm an only child. Before work, I'd have to go in and check she'd had breakfast. During work, she'd call 20 times a day. And after work, I'd go over to make sure she was safe and give her a dinner. There were more calls in the evening. And she talked about contacting the bank. She said on the phone, it was awful. They would want her to tell them her name and date of birth, of which she knew neither. And the worst thing was, she didn't believe she had dementia. Thank you so much.
No problem. Oh, look, we're both in green.
It's like we planned it.
I mean, from the beginning, there was no support. There's nothing. I'm an only child. My mum lives on her own, so it's just the two of us. But also, there's no support from anyone or anything. So the GP basically says, or the memory clinic says, okay, your mum's got Alzheimer's. Here's some pills, here's some tablets, and we'll see you in a year's time. And mum obviously didn't decided she didn't have Alzheimer's, kept throwing the tablets down the toilet. Crazy things like that. I'd find tablets hidden under the sofa. And I had to just try and keep everything going, calling up companies, trying to sort out bills, and they're saying things like, oh, okay, well, yeah, we can talk to you as her daughter, that's not a problem. If you could just put your mum on the line and I'll ask questions, and I'll be like, okay, you can put her on the line, but when mum gets asked what her date of birth is and what her address is, she's got no idea.
It's astonishing, isn't it? Because you're like, the reason I'm calling is because this person doesn't have capacity, and yet you're asking for me to put that person on the phone.
Exactly. And then I'd like write things down for mum so she could read it, but it soon got to a point where she couldn't read things, and it was ridiculous. And then I would be speaking to the utilities or the bills or the people, and I don't want to sit there and go, look, my mum's got Alzheimer's, because mum sat next to me thinking she doesn't have Alzheimer's. Yeah. So then mum would go crazy, I don't have Alzheimer's, you're lying, it's all pretend. So I'm just stuck in this really awkward position of on the phone to whoever, the utility company, mum declaring she doesn't have Alzheimer's, the woman saying I just need to get her name and address. Yeah.
Charlotte, I was in exactly the same position. I remember trying to cancel his car insurance because he'd had his licence taken off him. They wanted to speak to him. I had a 1-year-old on my knee. He kept saying, what are they asking? What do they need to know? So, and the sort of stress that builds within you is enormous, isn't it?
It's huge. It's huge.
But what we found and what Charlotte found was once the piles of paperwork were sorted, once the right care was in place, everything changed.
If it's a loving care home and it's the right care home for them, it's the best place to be. Because now, and I'm sure you're the same, I feel like the daughter again.
Yes.
Sorry.
That is absolutely what me and my sisters have said, that we can be his kids again and he can be our dad.
The frustration and the stress have subsided. We think we've got part of our dad back. But should it have been that hard for us and for others?
Such an important subject that I know lots of people face, and we're going to find out more on how you can get lasting power of attorney when we speak to a solicitor and the Alzheimer's Society charity just after 8 o'clock this morning here on the programme.
And as Nina was just saying there in her piece, we've really appreciated hearing your stories so far. Keep those coming. If you find yourself in a similar situation, caring for somebody with dementia, we've been overwhelmed by the response to Nina's story and her family situation so far, because we know it is something that so many, many families right across the UK can relate to it.
Later on the programme, we're going to be talking about the shortage of NHS dentists, which leads to desperate patients willing to queue for hours for treatment.
Yeah.